Welcome to Spotlight. The road to recovery often seems like it's a never-ending journey with no results at the end. However, some individuals like my guest that battled the drug addiction and recovered, and now he is ready to help those that are struggling with drug addiction. Joining me today, Rabih Darwish, and he is now a recovery coach for Safe Substance Abuse Coalition, and Batool Makkl, who is an addiction studies intern for also Safe Substance Coalition, and you work directly with individuals and their families. Welcome. I'd like to start with you, Rabih Darwish. Welcome to MEA first, and I salute you for being here today and to share your story. And I hope whoever is watching this will know and be sure that there is hope, and Rabih Darwish is a living proof of that. So tell me, Rabih, how did it all start?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting us, and first and foremost, I want to thank God for giving me another day clean and giving me the opportunity for breath of life, okay, and
sure.
That I get to have my health and to help other people, and thank Batool and Safe Substance Abuse Coalition and HYPE and all the family members out there. And thank you again for giving us this opportunity and platform to share my experience, strength, and hope, and the struggles and the achievements and triumphs that we have in our community.
You know, there are many factors that lead to addiction. What was the main factor or main reason for you?
Well, here's the thing. So for me, I'm gonna start like, okay, so I was born in Beirut, Lebanon. I was born during the Civil War, so I can recall certain being in bomb shelters. There were traumatic times. I remember high anxiety, people afraid around me, the smell of war, blood, you name it. And then when we came to the United States, I remember seeing snow, and I thought we went up to the mountains.
Yes.
So that's the only time I saw snow. But
right.
Growing up, I grew up in an average house, in East Dearborn, the Moore Circle area. Had good friends around me. Played a lot of sports.
So you lived like a normal childhood.
Yeah, and
yes.
I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers, and a mother and father. So that was, Allah yarhamu, my father passed away about 3 months ago, but they were married for over almost 60 years.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it was fairly normal. But what it was, you got to imagine, when I was the type of person that if you smoked a cigarette, I wouldn't hang out with you until I got to a certain age where there started becoming an attraction.
You're talking about teenage years, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was an attraction, okay, because I didn't like it, but there was an attraction, and there were a sphere of influence around me that I would just notice certain things, the way the cars they drove, the way they dressed.
How was that?
And I wanted to be cool like them, to be honest with you.
Okay, so was it like a peer pressure somehow?
Not even a peer pressure.
So what is it?
It was
exactly?
just advertised in front of my eyes.
Okay.
There was nobody there to pressure me.
Okay.
I'm being honest. I grew up around good people, but what I noticed now looking back is that subliminally, slowly, whether it was the music, and then, so basically, I'll give you an example. If a guy hangs around a barbershop, okay, and he has nice dreadlocks, and every day he sees people cutting their hair, and they feel good when they leave. And every day the barber says, "Hey, would you like to cut your hair?" And he says, "No, man, I'm good."
So is it the curiosity?
So the guy becomes curious,
yeah.
and then he ends up cutting his hair. So you hang around the barber shop long enough, you're going to cut your hair.
Right. Yeah.
So same thing. And then, but when I used the substances, so when I smoked marijuana for the first time, it made me comfortable in my skin. Okay. So all my insecurities went away, whether I was dealing with weight issues, females, not doing good in school, whatever it was, all those things went away.
So it numbed you somehow?
Yes, and it felt good, and it felt really euphoric, and all my problems went away.
Okay.
And so that's basically how that started. And then, I started smoking it regularly,
So you wanted more of it, more and more.
More and more,
okay.
yeah. I wanted that feeling, you know. It was like a sense of empowerment, sort of.
Right.
But I couldn't do it around my family members. So I would do, you know, if my mom would say, "Why are your eyes like that?" I'd say, "Oh, I'm very tired," and I'd go to sleep.
And she would believe you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
were you going to school?
Because I never had a history. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you going like to school regularly?
I was going to school. I wasn't getting suspended.
So what you were doing as far as grades and stuff, you were doing fine?
I wasn't. I was average.
Okay.
You know, I was average, and then I would tell my family that I'm going to study, and I was lying. And I would go get high. I take the books with me. That's about it.
This is how when you started lying to your parents.
This was in high school. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, lying, and I think that's when the career of lying started.
Yeah.
You know,
one lie
associated with
the
substance. Yeah. So yeah, that's, I guess you can, the start of a character defect.
Yeah.
You know, now looking back, I just.
So basically, if we look back, you feel like you wanted to fit in. You wanted to feel more like you fit in. That was
well. I had a I had a lot of good friends. I was in the sports.
Okay.
You know, I joined sports. It was me being comfortable in my own skin.
Okay.
Okay. Because fitting in was not an issue for me. It was me feeling comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
Now for others, it can be that way, but for me specifically, it was that.
So what happened next?
So I started going out. Like, I think it was a month after I started smoking weed, I started drinking, and I started going out to nightclubs. So you gotta imagine, I was.
How old were you at that time?
15. And so I was almost this height at 15.
So you're a big guy. You were a big guy.
Kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a big kid.
Big kid.
And yeah, but at that time, you know, they had clubs that were for 16 or 15 teenage clubs, you know, and there would be adults there too.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
And you can drink?
I mean, no. You can't. No alcohol was served there, but everyone came under the influence for sure.
Okay, I see. Okay.
And the place wants to generate revenue, so they're gonna let things slide.
Okay.
You know, the security and whatnot.
Okay.
And there would be concerts there and different types of events, and we'd see people go to jails and fights, but you know, the females were there, and that there's an attraction to the chaos.
Right. Yeah.
And
but you witnessed all that.
Yeah, but some of my friends in front of me went to jail, started going to jail early on, but I got away with it. I never got caught. I never got caught. So for me, I didn't get caught. Let's keep going.
So you were like kind of a good liar, or like
very good liar.
And you got
very,
away.
Very,
that's
very,
how you
very
got
good
away.
Liar. And I kept getting away with it, and I kept getting better, and then, you know, you start to believe the lies.
Yeah.
And then when I was 19, I acquired a knee injury playing basketball, and that's when I was prescribed Vicodin.
Okay.
And then that made me extremely, it gave me a sense of euphoria unlike anything else on a different scale.
So you were on Vicodin, and you were using marijuana at the same time?
Well, yeah, but I forgot about all those.
That was nothing compared to Vicodin.
Nothing.
Okay, what happened?
And obviously, like, so I was nursing the injury, and you know, I was on Vicodin for a year. It was prescribed to me, and then the doctor said, "Okay, you know, you're no longer prescribed this." I said, "Okay," and then I got sick, and I didn't understand why I was sick.
Once you stopped Vicodin, you got sick.
Yeah, I was just sick, and I didn't understand why. So I went back to him and I said, "You know, I think I have the flu, and it's not going away. I don't, you know, what do I do?"
So what was the symptoms?
Withdrawal.
Yeah, like, you know.
Okay, so restless legs. Your legs feel like somebody's pulling them off. Cramping in the muscles, cramping in the gut. You want to vomit. Stomach ache.
So those are signs of like addiction. You're addicted to something and you can't have it. And this is.
Well, yeah. The beginning signs is you get the sniffles. You start getting headaches, watery eyes.
Right.
And very irritable, discontent. And then you get extremely violent in a sense. You
irritated.
Extremely irritated, you know, and for anything.
Okay.
You don't really want to hear anything. You don't feel like doing anything. Cigarettes don't even taste.
So what did you do?
So after that, he told me that you know, you are withdrawing, and that you have formed an addiction. I said, okay, well, what is the solution? And then I was put on Suboxone.
Okay.
and I was put on Suboxone for 2 years.
So what is it exactly?
Suboxone is naloxone with buprenorphine, or something, buprenorphine. So naloxone is designed for you to, it closes the opioid receptor for you to get opiates, right?
Okay.
And it's a blocker, okay? So if you try to take an opiate, you won't get high. And it prevents overdose. However, the buprenorphine, it's a form of opiate, and it's highly addictive.
Okay.
And so when I was put on this medication, I noticed that there was a whole drug game behind this medication.
And you were not supposed to be given
each
that?
Strip, no, it was prescribed to me,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm coming off of this substance, but there was no end in sight. There was no protocol. There was nothing to titrate me off. And then I realized that, and I tried to quit multiple times. There was, one time it was a 60-day withdrawal period. Imagine, you want to blow your head off.
With those 60 days?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't going away. I tried on my own.
Okay.
And then after that, I just went back to the pills in the streets, though, and discovered a whole different world. And was willing to do whatever it takes to get that substance. So, I worked at the time, but I also worked as a drug dealer too.
Because you had to, because you need the
Well,
money
yeah,
to
and there was an
supply
attraction
yourself.
to the lifestyle too. Imagine, you grow up and you see people around you that somewhat are drug dealers, and you see it in television, you hear it in the music, you see it in posters, Scarface, it was like the MTV Crib thing.
So it's not a good influence.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, look, those are our heroes. I remember growing up, my movie of choice, my two favorite movies was Menace to Society. Look at the words. Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, and then Tupac was my guy.
Yeah. So you felt fine at that time, like you're a hero, you're watching, these movies, and you were on drugs. So you felt like you're living like a good life at that time.
And my relationship with my family was perfectly normal, but I really didn't associate with them anymore. Like I really didn't know them too well. I would go to the events, but whoever they thought they knew, that wasn't me.
So they didn't see you much, basically?
No.
They didn't?
No, not, here and there, but, there were spurts where I would disappear.
Okay, so when did they find out, or you found yourself like,
my family noticed that I wasn't really growing as a person. And, questioned here and there, and I stopped going to school because of, it was no longer, I didn't care for it.
Did they know that you stopped going to school?
Yeah, and I made a million excuses, and I just started working. I went to the workforce.
Yeah, but did they try to, to change your mind and stuff?
Yeah, but
nothing.
Nothing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you started working?
Yeah, I started working, but at the same time, I was, it's either I was a user at times, or I was a seller at times.
Okay,
yes.
Okay.
And I realized that around, I think it was 2011 or 10, one of those years, I had a friend that got clean, and it was clean for like 3 years, and it was like impossible. Like I could not comprehend that, right? And I said I need help. And it was very uncomfortable. He gave me a number to call.
So how did you, I just want to get this part, like how did you feel that you needed help? Like,
well,
this is
here's
it,
the thing. Like I would
that decision to
I
call.
would quit, right? I would quit, and then I would go to the gym. I would use Suboxone, to titrate off, and then I would replace it. It was either Suboxone, marijuana, alcohol. Like it would never stop.
Yeah, but a question, like you would go to the gym, you will have the energy while you're on drugs.
I would take a minimal amount.
While you're
it was progressing.
Okay.
So it would get bad at times, and then I'd slow down.
And then you go.
And then
you get back.
The full relapse.
Okay.
So I guess it's like a stock market. It's going up and down, up gradually, and then immediately plummet. And then obviously when I would become antisocial and whatnot and disappear, that's when I was trying to get clean.
Okay.
And then when I would come back around, I'm usually on a substance, because that's what I thought. I thought the only way to function was using a substance, and I would use them at night. So in the morning, I'd wake up kind of groggy, but I would exercise, detox, sweat, go on about my day, go to work at nighttime feeling a little bit of the withdrawals, and then use.
And then use again.
Yeah, but then what I would do to maintain after a while was use the Suboxone in the morning, along with, in conjunction with Adderall, and then towards the evening, so I would use enough Suboxone to get me through the day, and then towards the night it would be the Vicodin, Xanax, Somas.
So you became an expert at this, like how to use and what to, you time things.
Yeah, we started timing stuff. We became our own pharmacists.
Obviously. And at home, I mean, were you using it at home?
Absolutely.
And what about, did your mom ever walk on you and say, "Oh, what are you doing?" Did she ever catch you?
I mean, yeah, I was questioned, but I would just say I'm tired.
And nothing.
A lot of the times.
So do you think they knew and they couldn't do anything about it? Did they try to talk?
So when I got honest about it again, they wanted to send me overseas the first time.
Your parents?
Yes.
Okay.
And then they and we went to the doctors. He's like, "No, let's put him on Suboxone."
Okay.
I'm like, all right, here we go again. Let's give this another shot. So he convinced them to do that.
Okay.
Because mind you, at this time there was no money. Like they controlled everything of my life. So there was no income, nothing, and I was very I had a lot of guilt and shame, and I'm like, wow, the family's gonna know, and the family did know. They just wanted me to get help,
yes,
and like, come on, let's get this over with,
Yeah.
And they don't understand it either. So I went on that again, and then sure enough, went back to the original, Vicodin, Xanax, Somas.
Okay.
And then I started hearing it from friends, where whether any event I was at, I would pass out in front of others.
Oh, you would?
Yeah, but not in front of my family. Not yet.
Okay.
And
so how does it happen? You would be at an event and suddenly like you...
Yeah, like you're thinking you're not high, so you take a dose and then maybe you're not patient enough. So you take a little bit more, and the next thing you know, you're waking up the next morning.
Yourself. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know what would happen. And then they would tell me and I would not kind of believe them because I'm like, I don't recall what you're saying.
Okay, so did you believe it or did you...
I did,
yeah.
but I wouldn't believe it in a sense, and what I would do to make it go away was use more.
Use more, okay.
To
drug yourself again.
Yeah, let me use some more so that way it can go away.
Yeah, I have to ask you, I mean, with all this, who do you blame? Do you blame the pharmaceutical company? Do you blame doctors? Do you blame yourself? I don't want you to blame yourself, but I say, do you feel like you blamed yourself? What are the emotions? How do you feel about this?
I mean, honestly, at this point, here's the thing. The problem was me in the sense, okay. But it's many factors.
Many factors.
It's the whole medical industry, okay. Of course, the health system, of course. It's a lot. It's all of us. How about that? It's everyone, but I'm the one, of course, that I'm going to take accountability.
Yeah.
Because I put them in me. However, it was prescribed to me, and it could have been preventable, prevented.
They could have prescribed something else, is that what you're saying, and not lead you to this?
Right, but at the same time, I still, used the marijuana before.
Right.
And, like when you use marijuana and you're addicted to marijuana, you'll notice the impact in your 30s and 40s as far as like bipolar and, just being destructive or being abusive. But, and then alcohol too, it's progressive.
Yeah. So do you feel that the people that use marijuana, they don't stop like just marijuana, they have to use other things?
Now,
like
there are some that keep it there.
They keep it there.
There's some that
so
keep
it depends
there.
on the individual, right?
Absolutely. It's case by case.
It's case by case.
Yeah, but really it's the system. I mean, you can blame the system all you want, but it's honestly, I've never really been asked that.
Okay.
And I've always been told to take accountability, because the problem is me. You think about it. When I take this substance, I'm the problem. If I don't take the substance, I'm a part of the solution, So it's a good question.
Yeah, and now you flipped your life around. It's 180 degrees.
Yeah, yes.
So, and we're so proud of you. I mean, just to come out and talk about it, and not just talk about it. I mean, you're an inspiration now, because, people watch you now and they say, wow, this guy like really helped himself, and I'm sure you got support from people and from organizations and even the friends around you. But now you're helping people, and this is a great thing. So you are now a coach, a recovery coach.
Yeah, a peer recovery coach, yep.
Yes. So tell me about that. Tell me about the SAFE Coalition, Safe Substance Drug Coalition, Abuse Coalition, yes.
So for me, I got clean May 3rd, 2016. So by that time, it was my 21st treatment center. So mind you, the other 20 times I completed the program one time, and then the rest of the times I would go to get cleaned or like take a break.
Yeah. When
life would become too unmanageable.
And then you go back.
And then I would go back. Why? Because I thought the problems were, you know, or the solution was, oh, get married, get into a relationship, have a car, you know, but I wasn't addressing the disease.
No.
You know.
Is this what your parents were saying, or the people around you? Like, you should get married, you should do this, and
you should be married by now. You should be this and that, but. See, I don't know how to manage those things. I lost the ability to do that, and I wasn't addressing the internal problem, which was my character defects and my shortcomings. Because okay, we put away the drugs and alcohol, right? Everything is gone. Okay, what's your excuse now? I mean, what's going on? And I did not know how to live life. Like, okay, all I know is to be high in this situation, and this situation, and this situation. So. Imagine all I know how to do is get high in this interview, hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm sober one day, me and you are sitting across from each other.
Yeah.
And now you're asking me a series of questions. I'm gonna have massive anxiety. I'm probably gonna have a panic attack, and I'm not even gonna show up in this building.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I did not understand how to live. So I needed to learn how to live.
So you had to start from scratch.
Yeah. So when I was 33. From zero. Yeah, but starting all over, and I feel like that's when I was really born.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that, because I feel like everything that's happened in my life was exactly the way it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly the way. All these struggles and everything has translated into my life today to help others.
In a positive, really positive way, yeah.
Absolutely.
And you can understand these people more than anyone else, you know, to coach them, because you feel with them, you know how it is.
Absolutely.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, you know, it took a village to raise the child, and you know, Ali Sayyid took me in, you know, understood addiction and believed in me and hired me into Hype and said, you know, we have this thing called SAFE. We'd like you to come help us out and speak with us. You know, you wanted to give me a sense of purpose.
Yes.
You know, like, come be a part of the community. And I was afraid and terrified of the community, and I hated the community. Why? Because I said, you know, they're very judgmental. However, I'm the one. So imagine, before I went in an interview with Ali Sayyid, I was being judgmental towards him.
Yeah.
So it was me. I was the one being judgmental.
Right. And he was trying to help.
I wasn't giving the community a chance. That's what it was.
Right.
And so he gave me a chance, and you know, I grew in Hype as a person, and then I started sharing my experience, strength, and hope with others.
Yeah.
And you know, imagine, you know, I have a program that I constantly work on myself. And
you mean now?
Yeah, till this day, every day.
Yeah.
And what's my role? Because the only thing I can control is my actions and my decisions. So imagine, you can sit here and yell at me all you want, but it's my reaction that I can control, right? So I realized it's me.
Right.
In every situation, it's me. So I realized that, okay, so you took me out of Dearborn, you took me out of a different area, but I took myself with me, okay?
Right.
So, so I needed to work on myself. Imagine, so like, I couldn't speak to certain people because they would give me anxiety. Now, a year later, those people are the same, but I changed. So I became spiritually fit to understand them.
Right.
You know?
Did you get like a psychological help?
Oh, everything. I went to IOP. I joined Alcoholics Anonymous. We have a 12-step program. You know, I went to therapy.
So go ahead, please.
Yeah. It was all self-care. So I put a pause on my life, because that's just me. You know, not everyone has to go through that. But you know, I put a pause on my life. I needed to understand the disease.
Yeah,
You know?
that's courage. I mean, that's
Yeah,
amazing. I mean,
yeah.
you started from within.
I
and
went to
you-
three-quarter house
Yeah.
living too, where it's completely structured, and I noticed that I really didn't know how to make my bed. I didn't know how to wash or clean clothes, so I had to relearn how to
You
be
learn
a
all
man.
that.
Yeah. I was very humble too, and I was,
This is amazing.
you know,
yeah. You really worked on yourself. I mean, hard.
hard
Hard.
in every aspect, and then, you know, imagine. So I go to a group where, you know, they say it's courage to ask for help. You know, it takes courage, and then so the language changed.
Yeah.
You know, this language that I've known my whole life has been completely, you know, transformed.
So what's your message like to people who are struggling now with this drug addiction? Like your message, like you did it from within, you did it yourself. What is like the message?
Well,
What should they do first?
well, the first thing is that you no longer have to suffer in silence. That's one.
Okay.
And you're not alone. Okay.
Yeah.
So it takes a great deal of courage, you know, to ask for help.
Right.
And there are people out there that really care, and it's not like the way you think it really is. There's very good people in this world. You know, obviously there's the enablers, and then there's the people that actually want to help.
Right.
You know, and I was exposed to that. I was the fortunate individual and blessed to be exposed to that, and now I'm able to share that with others.
Right.
So everything, like imagine everything that I say, they're not my words. They were shared so freely with me. So I'm able to carry that message to others.
Yeah, and people should know that they if they seek help, there is help out there.
There is help, but it's not easy, because just like Batool always says,
Yeah.
addiction,
We're going to get to you, Batool, in a second. Yeah.
Addiction is the enemy of change. So,
Yeah.
so you got to imagine, you know, you have this freight train trying to stop, and then when you stop, you know, when you arrest the disease, it's like a freight train that's trying to derail itself.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it's a tough journey, because imagine you have to put your ego aside and say, okay, you know what? I don't know a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Teach me, help me, you know.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
I really had to do that as an individual to grow. And now that's all I know, because and that allows me to grow on a daily basis.
Yes.
You know, and alhamdulillah, because I even had to learn how to have relationships with other people, my higher power. You know, I had to learn how to have relationships with women. Like, I did not understand that anymore. I didn't understand the concept. Yeah, imagine.
Yeah, this is important.
Absolutely, it's very important. And like my disease took me to the point where I was in complete isolation. So imagine, you know, you had this kid that was in sports, almost a leader amongst my friends, because I love to help others, right?
Yeah.
And then completely, you know, destroyed that. And then I found myself in my room where I was sitting, and there were cigarette burns on my pants, cigarette burns on my skin,
You were
on
not
my shirt.
aware of that. You were not.
Well, I'm explaining the situation.
Yeah,
Hold on.
yeah.
So I had cigarette burns all over me, cigarette burns on the carpet, cigarette burns on the bed, and I'm looking at a television, and there are two human beings conducting dialogue, and I forgot the concept of dialogue. I said, how are those two humans communicating?
Wow.
So and that's where it took me, complete isolation, where I wanted to destroy myself.
Yeah.
And my mom would stand there and say, how can we help you? Screaming out to me, and I didn't know how to respond.
Right.
I really didn't. So, and I imagine, so when you're in that environment, it's hard to even come in public. You know, I
Right.
mean, my family even tried to take me overseas, which I was in a very protected environment, and where I got clean. But again, I came back to the same environment, you know, same phone, same house, same
Right.
friends, same people. All it takes is one phone call, and all it takes is one decision.
And that's
Even
it.
till this day, I'm one bad decision away, but I don't really associate myself. I don't put myself around that situation.
Yes,
I have a
yes.
great life. I have a
Yeah.
very fun life too.
Yeah, this is very
Um,
important point that you brought. I mean, you could do that again, but you don't want to, because look at you now, right?
Why would I ever want to go back to that insanity?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
I have great friends. I have great influence around me. You know, full of health, full of life, and the success is just being a better person. It's not like these, you know, money or whatever it is, because obviously
Right.
we don't take any of that with us into the ground, you know, and we don't take anything with us. But imagine, it's just certain individuals trying to be better.
Right, and
You
to
know?
help others. That's
And
the greatest
and
gift, I think.
and it's all by
you know.
example.
Yeah.
Imagine sharing that courage, sharing hope.
Sharing your story.
Absolutely, and that's why that's why I share my story, and I feel like that I'm sharing other people's stories. The struggle within to have the courage to ask for help.
Right.
But it's a process. Like recovery is a process. It's lifelong, but it's one day at a time. Imagine, we think life, we're like, oh my God, 50 years, but that's not even reality, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow is imaginary. It's not even real. There's no such thing as tomorrow, because this is the only reality. And then when we wake up the next day, it's today.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
It's never tomorrow.
Sure.
So, and when I would hear that, like a lifelong journey, oh, get out of here. Like, are you kidding me? But I didn't understand the concept of patience. I had no faith. There was no higher power. There was no God in my life. Nothing. No spirituality. No sense of being humble, humility. I did not understand those things. All taken away. But with when I was given time for my brain to heal a little bit, things started slowing down.
Right.
For me, because of where I took my addiction, I couldn't live in a normal environment anymore. Right. I needed to relearn how to live clean, because my problem was I didn't know how to stay clean. So, okay, we get clean. Okay, now how do you stay clean?
Right.
And I wouldn't give those, certain things up. Lifestyle, I was addicted to the lifestyle too.
Right.
Imagine.
Yes. It's not easy, but it happened. As I mentioned, you did it. And that's amazing, and I want to talk a little bit. Well, I want to thank you for sharing your story, first of all, and thank Ali Sayed, who is an activist and the owner of Hype, and now he's opening.
He's a CEO of Hype.
He's a CEO.
He's a governing board. So
okay, he's a CEO of Hype. Yeah, and he's opening now a facility that I would love for you to tell me a little bit about it before we get to Batool.
This is such a blessing, and I mean, the great hard work of the SAFE team, and patience, and a lot of struggles, but finally, we have the opportunity and the privilege to serve the community by opening up this treatment center. It's going to be in Lincoln Park. It's a church that we're going to convert into a treatment center, and it's beautiful.
Okay.
And it's going to house hopefully 18 to 24 people, where they'll go through detox and residential. So it'll be a 24 to 30-day program. It'll also include vocational training, and like different parts. And obviously people that are in recovery would come in as well, and share their experience, strength, and hope. Give people that are early in recovery that you can live out there a normal, clean life. You can live.
That is awesome. That's great.
And what we can also do with that is that we can show families that, hey, like in our community, that we have a place now where not only, with the intervention and the pre-intervention and then the relapse prevention, but we have the source now.
Okay.
We can serve the community now.
Okay, when does this facility open?
So we're hoping with February or January, but Allah bi'alam, we don't know how, any constructional problems we might run into. So right now it's a process.
So if anyone wants to reach out, who should I get hold of, for this particular facility? And
you want to give a number out? So we have multiple ways. Right now we haven't came out with a number for that treatment center yet, because it's not built yet. So you can't seek that help. But to get into a treatment center, you would call the Detroit Wayne Mental Health Authority, which is 1-800-241-4949. Again, that's 1-800-241-4949.
Yes.
That is to get into treatment. Now, but the number you can call for us to help with pre-interventions and interventions is 734-721-7400.
Okay.
And when you call that number, you can ask for Rabih Darwish or Batool Makkl.
And they'll get the help from there. Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Batool Makkl. You work with individuals with drug addiction and their families. And first of all, we have to acknowledge that there is no community is immune to this. Rich, poor, black, white, race, any gender. But while they say it's a family disease,
Sure.
and one person uses, but the whole family suffers. Tell me, like, how do you address this?
Well, usually when a family member reaches out to either Rabih or myself or Ali Sayed, it's a full-blown addiction. The addiction has taken over that individual and it has impacted the family. So usually when they reach out to us, what we do is we have a pre-intervention. A pre-intervention is where we would sit with the family members and not with the individual who has a substance use disorder.
Okay.
So we basically ask them, who was this individual before their addiction? And how has this transpired? What have you noticed? And where is this individual now? So basically it's like a synopsis of before the addiction and now with the current problem. And then once we host a pre-intervention, we set a date for an intervention with the individual. And it's not what most people probably think. Addiction doesn't discriminate. It hits everybody equally. And what we do at that point is we approach them with compassion, mercy, love, hope.
For both, you're talking family and the individual.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's a collective effort.
Right.
All of us are there. And the individual is there as well. And what we do is we ask family members to write them a letter of who that individual was prior to their addiction. It's actually a very, very sad event because it's just heartbreaking. That individual is like, wow, the addiction has taken that kind of toll on all of us. It puts, everything into perspective, and then, we facilitate. So we're there to facilitate this event, and we, Rabih shares his story, which encourages them, empowers them, gives them hope. I'm there with the clinical aspect, so I'm able to facilitate, guide, and then navigate them through the intervention itself. We tell them that, there's a different way of life. You don't have to suffer. These are the consequences you've endured, your family has endured, your family loves you, we love you, and we all want to help you through this. You're not alone. And it's a very empowering event, and it's highly, highly effective.
Okay.
Some are easier than others. Some just want to hear, do you need help? And they're quick to react, and then some are extremely resistant. And it requires families to do somewhat of uncomfortable things because so that way they don't play the enabler role, But we have many on our team as well that help us, so we've all played a certain role in that.
And I want to ask about the parents. We live it's an Arabic community, and we have this stigma, the shame-based stigma. I'm not saying to wipe it out because I don't think it's going to go away completely.
Sure.
But at the same time, how to make people understand, or parents understand, that it's okay to talk about it. It's not something to be ashamed of. We have to treat it as a disease or as any kind of illness, like cancer, anything, How do you do that? How do you explain to parents? Because some parents, I think they probably refuse to talk to you, maybe. Do you have situations like that, or not really? I'd like to know.
So as a society, the more we talk about something, the more we become conditioned to be like, oh, okay, I can talk about it. Everyone else is talking about it. So just talking about it helps. Putting, I was thinking we should have something in the Arab American News that's a number where we can just put if you recognize these symptoms or signs, please reach out for help. The more we talk, the more it encourages other people to talk. And then it changes, that taboo. We're hoping, and it's going to take time and dialogue.
Is it getting better from what you see?
From what I've seen, it is getting better.
Okay.
You know, however, it's still prevalent, very prevalent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You have something
Well,
to say?
I
Okay.
feel the
Yeah.
more we do interviews like this,
And
the
initiatives
more we
and-
share about, you know, people that are in recovery,
Yeah.
which, you know, we have a lot of, you know, good people in recovery now
Mhm.
that are willing to somewhat follow in my footsteps. Now, not everyone has to.
Right.
Obviously, it's completely anonymous, and, you know, you live life on life's terms. You know,
That's
you
good.
do your thing.
Yeah.
But there are some that want to be on the, you know, activist side because they, you know, they want to give back what was so freely given to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have a saying: in order to keep what we have to give it away.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I want you to tell me, like, or to tell parents, like, some kind of tips, like,
Sure.
to look for, like, signs,
Sure.
you know, what to look for, and then they know if, you know, their kids are, you know, addicted or they're on something. What are the tips? What are the signs and symptoms?
Sure. So the first tip that I would give parents is don't be afraid to talk to your kids about drugs and alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't talk to them, if you don't inform them, if you don't educate them, they're going to get educated from school, their peers, your neighbors, the radio, video games, music, it's everywhere. And as a parent, I have sat my kids down, I've talked to them about drugs, the negative consequences associated with drugs. You know, if someone offers them drugs, what do you do? And my daughter looked at me and she was like, so I do role play. Me and her, I say, okay, I'm your friend, and I'm going to offer you marijuana. How are you going to say no? How do you prepare for that?
Yeah.
So role play is very, very effective. I do it even when my kids' friends come over. I'm like, okay, guys, come on, like we're going to do a group activity, and then in the moment they find themselves, they're like, oh, yeah, we don't know how to respond to this. And when we went into Dearborn Public Schools, because SAFE teaches prevention as well, we did role play. And I had a young female, and I asked them, you know, who played football or who was the athlete in the room, and a young man stood up, and you know, he was attractive, and she was an attractive young lady, and I said, okay, you guys are off to college now, and you've had a crush on him for a very long time, and he approaches you with a joint of marijuana or with a cup of liquor.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You've had a crush on him for so long.
Yeah.
How are you going to say no?
This is interesting, yes.
And they both stood there, and this was a classroom full of kids, and they just looked at each other. And I said, this is how people get addicted to drugs.
Yeah. That's a good example.
Yeah.
And you know, we live in a very busy life here in America, and you know, parents are busy all the time. They work full time, even more, like 13, 14 hours a day, some of them. And they should probably set up more time to sit with their kids, listen to their kids, do more activities with their kids, and
you know, it's
part of it.
It is part of it. And I think Rabih will agree. We've seen hands-on parents, and then we've seen parents who weren't hands-on, and yet both their children ended up, you know, addicted to drugs.
Okay.
Broken home, not broken home. Rich, poor. Educated, not educated. Minority, white. It really, I wish I knew, like, you know, what would be the number one tip or the number one sign or symptom. It's a lot. It's complex. It really is.
It is complex, but the statistics are that if the parents are engaged more, it's less likely because you would catch it early on if it were to happen,
right?
As opposed to the ones that are not hands-on, and it's definitely a risk factor.
Also, one thing I wanted to bring to light is that so during adolescence, which is ages 12 through 19, this is where mental illness begins to appear, and it's often like swept under the rug, and this is where adolescents start to self-medicate. Oh, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling out, you know, I'm depressed.
Right.
They don't know that, oh, I have an illness, or I'm not, you know, or maybe mom isn't paying attention to it, or they just don't want to talk about it. Because of course, when you have depression, you don't want to talk about it. So who do they turn to? They turn to peers. You know, oh, try this, it'll make you feel better.
That's true.
Yeah.
Self-medication leads to addiction. And then they become dependent, they build tolerance, and then it goes from there.
Yeah.
So mental health is very important. Parents should talk to their children about their mental health, loving themselves, self-care.
Right.
You know, and I always tell my kids, like every day, I don't just tell them how was school. I was like, you know, how'd you feel today in school?
Yeah.
How'd school make you feel?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then talking, and I always tell my son all the time, and like everyone's always like, oh, Batool, like he's such a mama's boy and stuff, but I always tell him, and I ask him, do you feel loved?
Yeah, yeah. So you ask them questions,
Yeah.
which is, I think, very
Yeah.
important to do that,
And
to communicate with your kids all the
they
time.
are the
Yeah,
most
because they
important
feel
things.
important,
Yes.
you know, when you ask them about how they feel.
And they
Yeah.
won't seek that attention
Exactly.
from elsewhere if it's being fulfilled in the home.
Yes.
And that's where
That's a good question,
the
a
character,
good point.
that's where like some of the character defects that I noticed myself developing, codependent issues, seeking approval. So I would do things to seek approval from others.
Yeah,
Things that I normally would not do.
Right.
You know, abnormal behavior.
right.
And you know, one thing that what we're going to have in the facility
Yes.
in Lincoln Park is that it's going to be dual diagnosis, so co-occurring addiction in conjunction with mental
With
illness,
mental health,
because big time.
Well,
Addiction
they
is
go
a mental illness.
hand in
They go
hand in hand, for
Yeah.
sure.
And
Yeah.
You know, it's not respected as well. You know, 1 out of 6. Imagine 1 out of 6 Americans have a mental illness, right?
Yeah, that's
It's
a
not-
lot.
That's a lot.
That's
It's
a
over
lot.
80 million.
It's
If
a lot.
you get the stats, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on
But
that.
that's a
stat.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's not seen, and yeah, people don't respect it because they can't see it.
Yeah, and they overlook it, and
Of
you
course,
know,
it's
yeah.
very underestimated, and
Sure.
then we want to fill the void.
Sure.
We're going to fill it with other people
Yeah,
or a
Thanks.
substance.
right. I mean, that's
As it relates to warning signs,
Mm.
one thing that I really want parents to pay attention to during adolescence, ages 12 to 19, smell your kids' clothes. If they're coming home and they have way too much cologne or perfume on, that's a big indicator that they're trying to hide some sort of scent.
okay.
Their eyes, if they're red, are, you know, do they look like, are they dilated? Are they sleeping too much? Are they eating too much? Do they have a different group of friends? Are they still involved in the sport that they loved? Are they withdrawn? Is there something odd about them? You know,
Isolation.
So those
Yeah.
are signs
Yes.
to look for.
Isolation is
Yes.
a big one.
Isolation is a big
Yes.
one, yes.
Yes, sleeping too much,
Yeah.
eating too much, or eating too little, or not sleeping, not taking care of themselves, self-care. If you have
Hygiene.
a young teenager who wakes up and does her hair and she looks pretty every morning, and then all of a sudden you're yelling at her to brush her hair.
Yeah,
Something
that's
is
a big
wrong.
change, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. That's
Their
that's good,
grades.
that's good.
You know?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and being involved with their educators, talking, you know, don't wait for a parent-teacher conference. Just, you know, every 2 weeks, hey, how's their
Follow up.
behavior? How are their
Yeah,
peers?
follow
How are
up.
they behaving?
Yeah.
You know, and kids don't have to know, you know, every time you're reaching out to their teacher.
Right,
It could be
right.
indirectly.
Sure, sure.
So,
Because we're the
That's,
parents, right? And they live in our houses.
Right,
We're the
Yeah.
parents.
yes, yes.
You know, we have to play that role.
Definitely, definitely.
By our examples, though. That's what I've realized is that in my adolescence is that imagine someone came up to you and said, don't smoke a cigarette. When you get older, don't smoke a cigarette. I'm going to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
smoking the
yeah.
cigarette. So imagine that.
Well, people,
or don't
well,
smoke
kids
hookah.
imitate their parents. and
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to
yeah.
swear like you. I'm going to eat like you.
Yeah.
Mom's cooking is the best cooking, right? Everyone's mom is
Yeah,
the best
yeah,
cooking. around.
it's a proven fact.
So yeah, so
Sure.
we learn their behavior. So to learn, we
Behavior
learn
is
how to
learned.
lie from the behavior
Correct.
indirectly.
Correct, yes.
You know,
I agree.
I mean, there's no special formula for parenting, I don't think, right?
behavior is learned.
Yeah.
It
It's
is.
proven.
It is
Yeah.
learned. It is.
And if they don't get it from you, they'll get it from someone else. Whether it's a
Absolutely.
family cousin
Yeah.
or somewhere else, and we've seen that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can talk to you a lot more today,
Yeah.
but we are out of time. I'd like to thank you, Rabih Darwish, for sharing your story. You are
Thank
such
you.
an inspiration.
Thank you.
And keep up the good work that you're doing. You're helping so many people out there. You're saving lives, and that's a blessing. And thank you, Batool, for all the information that you gave us today. And I always say there is always a light at the end of the tunnel.
Sure.
And you have to seek help, and there is help out there
Absolutely.
Yes.
for everybody who is trying, who is determined to, help themselves. So thank you so much
Thank you.
again.